Alright, folks, buckle up. It's time to talk about the Chicago Bears and their 8th straight loss. Yes, you heard that right. 8. That's more losses than my last attempt at baking a cake, and trust me, it wasn't pretty. But, unlike my disastrous baking, the Bears' season seems to keep on crumbling. And the situation is starting to get, well, let's just say, interesting, and by interesting, I mean full of drama, frustration, and a whole lot of head-scratching moments. So, last Monday night, the Bears went to Minnesota, ready to break that losing streak. They thought they had it in them. They were motivated, they were charged up, they were ready to, well, lose in a new, exciting way. Yes, it was a 30-12 loss to the Minnesota Vikings, and while the score might look close until the end of the third quarter, if you were watching the game, you know it was like watching a slow-motion car crash. First of all, let's talk about the defense. They tried, okay? They really did. They held their ground for a while. Sure, the Vikings outgained the Bears by a mere 45 yards, 329 to 284. But it felt like the Bears' defense was running uphill in snowshoes while the Vikings were cruising downhill on a snowmobile. They were tough, yes, but it's hard to beat the Vikings when you're out there with a defense that is trying its best, while your offense is, well, not exactly firing on all cylinders. The Bears did have some moments, though. Quarterback Caleb Williams had a tough time, and it didn't help that he was facing a Minnesota defense that looked like they had studied his every move. And let's not forget that classic Bears moment where they didn't score in the first half for the third straight game. For those keeping track, that's 3 games in a row of nothing on the scoreboard in the first 2 quarters. Let that sink in. But wait, it gets better, or worse, depending on how you look at it. The Bears turned the ball over twice on downs in the first half. Twice. Now, I don't know about you, but when you're down 13-0 and you're trying to stay competitive, that's not exactly what you want to do. Running back DeAndre Swift got stuffed on a 4th and 1 attempt. Twice. Yeah, twice. The Vikings' defense wasn't having any of it, and Swift's attempts to push forward felt like watching a toddler trying to push a boulder up a hill. Let's not forget that Minnesota came in with the 3rd-ranked run defense. So, of course, the Bears thought they could just power through them. Spoiler alert, they couldn't. Swift had a solid 19 carries for 79 yards, but there were no touchdowns in sight. They tried some creative plays with DJ Moore in the backfield, mixing things up, but it didn't quite work out as planned. At some point in the game, I swear I heard someone yell, "Just throw the ball to DJ Moore." But even if you do throw it to him, what's the point when your offensive line is more like a leaky faucet than a solid wall of protection? I'm talking about the left tackle, Kieran Omega-G. This poor guy got thrown into the deep end for his first NFL start after Braxton Jones was ruled out with a concussion. And folks, it wasn't pretty. Jonathan Greenard blew past Omega-G like he was just a speed bump on the highway. Result? Caleb Williams gets sacked. Again, it's like watching a bad action movie where the hero gets knocked out in every scene. The Bears' offensive line has been in constant flux this season. They've used 6 different starting line combinations. 6. That's more changes than I've made to my Netflix password in the past year. And guess what? Despite all that, Caleb Williams wasn't sacked that much, only twice. But he sure took a lot of big hits. But hey, he's a rookie, right? He's still got some learning to do. And after that hit from Jihad Ward, I think Williams might have learned the valuable lesson that protection is key. Moving on to the defense, bless their hearts. They tried to hang in there. And against the Vikings' star receiver, Justin Jefferson, they did okay. He only had 7 catches for 73 yards. Oh, and a touchdown. But that's not the real kicker. The real kicker is the way they handled 3rd down, horribly. The Bears were 1 for 12 on 3rd downs. Let me repeat that. 1 of 12. That's less than 10%. You could probably have a better chance of making a sandwich in 12 seconds than converting a 3rd down at that rate. And then there's the penalties. The Bears racked up 9 penalties for 93 yards. Yeah, that's not ideal when you're trying to keep pace with one of the best teams in the NFC. Especially with the Vikings currently on a 7-game winning streak. They were hot. And the Bears? Well, they were just trying to survive. And I can feel the frustration building up in the locker room. Kevin Byard, the Bears' strong safety, put it best when he said, "Our margin of error is very small." No kidding, Kevin. When your team has that little room to mess up, penalties and bad execution are not your friends. Now, as we move into Week 16, the Bears are staring down some serious challenges. They'll host the Detroit Lions, who are also struggling with injuries. But still, no one wants to face a team that's fighting for their playoff life. And don't even get me started on the Seahawks coming into town in Week 17. This is where the real pressure starts to kick in. But here's the thing. The same old excuses are being tossed around. We've got to execute better. We've got to do our jobs. Yeah, but what's really going wrong here? You'd think by now someone would have found a way to get this team to, I don't know, execute properly, right? Cole Kmet, tight end for the Bears, opened up about his frustration. He's had to face this losing streak too. And it's mentally exhausting. It's brutal, he said. I mean, it's brutal for us fans too. Cole, we're right there with you, buddy. And as the losses pile up, it's clear that the coaching staff is on the hot seat. Who's next in line to take over the reins? Well, if I were the Bears front office, I'd be looking at someone like Brian Flores, the Vikings defensive coordinator. This guy is making waves. And while his history with the Dolphins might raise some eyebrows, his ability to turn defenses into juggernauts is hard to ignore. The Bears could use some of that. Just imagine him leading this team. But hey, that's a whole other topic for another video. Before we wrap this up, though, let's talk about Omega G again. The rookie left tackle might have had a rough night, but he's got potential. The coaching staff still sees something in him. And so do I. Will he improve over the next couple of weeks? Who knows? But one thing's for sure. The Bears' offensive line needs to get it together fast, or they'll keep getting steamrolled. Okay, folks, that's enough of this misery for one day. If you made it through this whole video without throwing something at your screen, congratulations, you deserve a medal. But seriously, this team needs to figure it out fast if they want to make something out of this season. Thanks for sticking with me through the ups and downs, mostly downs, of the Bears' 2024 season. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more Bears drama, analysis, and maybe even some hopeful content, who knows. And hey, share this video with your fellow Bears fans. Misery loves company. Catch you all next time, hopefully, with better news about the Bears. Until then, stay warm, stay safe, and don't let the Bears offense give you nightmares. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're a Chicago Bears fan, or if you've just been witnessing the ongoing disaster that is the Bears quarterback saga, then you're in for a wild ride today. Let's talk about the one, the only, Caleb Williams, and why his dad, Carl Williams, was spot on about the Chicago Bears and their utter inability to develop quarterbacks. If you've been living under a rock, let me break it down for you. The Bears are 4-10 right now. And they've lost 8 straight games. Yup, they've hit that sweet spot in NFL despair where even your grandma could predict the outcome. But, surprise, the real twist here is Caleb Williams, the guy who was supposed to be the savior of Chicago football. Now, for those of you who have missed the backstory, let me take you back a little bit to a GQ interview with Carl Williams, yes, Caleb's dad, where he dropped a truth bomb so big, even Bears fans were shaking their heads. In this interview, Carl basically called out the NFL draft process as one of the most messed up systems in the entire sports world. Why? Because it takes promising young talent, like his son, and throws them into the deep end of the worst teams in the league, like the Bears. And here's the kicker. Carl Williams straight up said that the draft system was completely backward. He was basically warning Caleb that the NFL draft could set him up for failure, especially if he ended up in Chicago. And well, guess where Caleb Williams is now? That's right, he's with the Bears. Now, at the time, Caleb was like, no, I want to be the guy who breaks the Bears curse. He was so fired up, so ready to take on the entire franchise by himself. He wanted to be the hero to save Chicago's miserable quarterback legacy. Can you feel the energy? The passion? The utter optimism of a young man who thinks he's invincible? Well, here we are, folks. And let me tell you, things are looking rough. Like, really rough. It's like watching your favorite superhero movie where the hero is struggling to find his cape, and his sidekick is nowhere to be found. Caleb Williams, despite all his talent, is slowly being crushed by the weight of Chicago's dysfunction. And this is where Carl Williams, Caleb's dad, should be sitting back with a smug grin on his face, sipping his tea, saying, "I told you so." Because, folks, it's looking more and more like Carl was right. The NFL draft process doesn't give young quarterbacks a fighting chance. Instead, it hands them a sinking ship and says, "Good luck, buddy." Let's talk about the draft for a second. It's supposed to be a shiny beacon of hope for young talent, an opportunity to go to a team that's ready to build around you, to give you the support and coaching you need to grow into a superstar. But in reality, it's like the NFL is just throwing a bunch of talented rookies into a gladiator arena and hoping one survives. And we see it all the time, quarterbacks like Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, and Sam Darnold, who were drafted by dysfunctional teams and nearly had their careers destroyed. But what happened when they moved to better organizations? They started winning games. They started to shine. And then there's the Chicago Bears, a team with a legendary, and by legendary, I mean disastrous, history of destroying quarterbacks. Let's not sugarcoat it. The Bears have been messing up quarterbacks for decades. Just take a stroll through the list of quarterbacks who've come and gone in Chicago. Mitchell Trubisky, Jay Cutler, Cade McNown, and don't even get me started on the countless others who never even had a chance. The Bears seem to have a superpower, a power to break quarterbacks' spirits and transform them into shells of their former selves. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's still early in Caleb Williams' career, and we're not calling it quits just yet. He's a highly talented player. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, the Bears will finally figure it out and surround him with the pieces he needs to succeed. But right now, it looks like another quarterback is about to fall victim to the Bears' quarterback killer curse. And that's not me being dramatic, this is real talk. You see, this whole quarterback fiasco isn't just about Caleb Williams. It's about the dysfunction that has plagued the Bears for years. It's about a team that has no idea how to develop young quarterbacks and seems determined to ruin them. And with the current state of the franchise, well, it's hard to see how they won't screw things up again. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, wait, hold up, Caleb can still be a star. The kid has all the tools. And you're absolutely right. Caleb Williams could very well be the guy who turns the Bears' fortunes around. He could be the next legendary quarterback that leads them to a Super Bowl. But here's the problem. The Bears have zero trust left when it comes to developing quarterbacks. They've burned that bridge so many times that even the faintest glimmer of hope is met with skepticism. But what if things had been different? What if Caleb Williams had listened to his dad? What if he had pulled an Eli Manning and refused to go to Chicago? Forcing the Bears to find a different path? Sure, it would have made a huge public spectacle. But think about it. He would have avoided walking into an organization that is infamously bad at developing quarterbacks. But instead, Caleb and Carl Williams decided to take the high road. They chose not to cause a scene and instead put their faith in the Bears, believing they could be the ones to fix things. Unfortunately, it's looking like that might not have been the best choice. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Caleb Williams is doomed. He's incredibly talented. The potential is still there. But until the Bears prove that they can get their act together, it's hard to believe they're the team that can turn him into a star. So here we are, folks, watching as another quarterback seems destined to fail in Chicago. The pressure is mounting, and the Bears have a big burden to prove that they won't ruin Caleb Williams like they've done to so many before him. Alright, let's wrap this up. The Bears need to prove they can finally break their quarterback curse. Until then, Caleb Williams' future in Chicago is hanging by a thread. And for all those who thought Caleb would break the cycle of QB disaster in Chicago, well, let's just say it's looking less and less likely. But hey, what do you think? Will Caleb Williams break the curse and become the Bears' next franchise quarterback? Or is he just the latest victim in the Bears' long history of QB failures? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Before you go, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video with your fellow NFL fans. Let's keep the conversation going, because we all know, when it comes to the Chicago Bears, there's never a dull moment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.